I know you guys have
Oh,
been hearing me rant for the last couple of days, but I just want to say thank you guys for coming here today. I do appreciate it. A couple of things that we're going to do today. If there's any artist that was here yesterday or didn't get a chance to, that contact me at 3 o'clock, we're going to be opening up the floor for artist interviews for them to connect and share a little bit more of the stories. Or if yesterday, if it was a little bit ruggy and you didn't feel like you got a good way to express your artwork. If you want to showcase it again, I think this is a perfect time to do it. I know Taco Tribe. I invited him up here to come back as he was here yesterday, and he had a great mint yesterday for him to come back and bring his community and talk about his project. So these are the things that we're going to be establishing and working on here today. We are going to be having a community break session. I do want to give a chance for us to hop into these different gold packages, artist environments, and see what amazing things that they're building there. So we will go ahead and do that and take some group photos around that. And then at the very end, we'll have a Polygon live Q&A, and we'll talk about the next Showcase 5. Just a quick glance of some things that will change and things that will move forward as a community to address it today. And then we'll also talk about it Monday in our Metaverse Monday with High CC as well too. So that's it for my spiel, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to be here. If you have any questions, please let me know right now.
just want to tell you, Alice, that you've got no one to blame but yourself for breaking Spatial all the time. If you didn't push your event so well and get so many people in here, then Spatial wouldn't break, would it?
I know. We'll figure it out sooner or later. What's up, Blockstone? I see that you have joined the Polygon Social. How you doing, my guy?
Hey, good morning, fam.
Good, man. You want to hop on stage? Love to just. I know you weren't here yesterday for the panel session. I know you ran into some things, but love to talk about some of the things that you're building with Spatial, if you don't mind. I know we got.
Bro,
I
good
know we got
morning.
some time.
Sorry, I missed you guys yesterday. I just totally.
Test, 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 test. That sound better? Yes, sir. Okay, awesome. Guys, I want to introduce you guys to Blockstone, and Blockstone is a environment designer. I don't want to say spatial designer because he has such a great track record of building environments in different platforms.
Blockstone. I actually met Blockstone at NYC. We kicked it. We hung out pretty much the whole day. He was my guy, and it's really awesome to have him here today. Blockstone, would love for you to kind of give us a background about yourself and what brought you into the space.
Having me, dog. I started with a whole lot of different file types, and that really was what forced me to get into virtual environment design, because I realized that regardless of whatever it is you're doing, the space can provide the context needed for whatever your goals are in general. So that kind of drove me really crazy in a good way, and I started designing things initially with just like pieces and tilt brush, and they were like art pieces. And then they slowly moved into more utilitarian architectural pieces. And now it's been like 2-3 years. And now I focus mostly on buildings and kind of abstract landscapes as well. But yeah, I don't know. The process was really just one of kind of solving one problem at a time. And then after going public and letting other people in, figuring out what kind of small changes were needed to make these things feel more livable and places that you want to come back to.
Blockstone, tell me a little bit about like the process of building and what makes you different than other builders.
I build everything in VR, which I think is surprising to people now, but I think that will become more and more common. The reason that's the first thing I really say is I can ideate incredibly fast with my hands, whereas a keyboard and mouse and like Blender or Unity, as valuable as they are, would take you hours and hours and hours to do what I could do in about 30 minutes. And so with that being like my core foundation, I think, as an artist, creatively, and then with architecture as well, Chris and I, my assistant Chris, I know some of you guys here have seen him. There's only two of us behind our builds, but we can put things out at a pace that I think is kind of unparalleled. And that's solely because we're using the right tools. It's not because we're any better than anyone else. It's really because we're using the right tools and we've kind of built from the ground up to optimize. In WebGL and web spaces specifically, there are other layers to VR that we could go into, but here in this realm, that's the major differentiator. Is we really build everything by hand, literally, and then we run it through and optimize everything. There's no taking old projects or taking older pieces and compressing them back down. We build everything from scratch, from nothing. Does that help?
Inspiration behind your sort of think tank days that you and Chris do, where you just open up and you exist in a space and you let other creatives come in. Was that just an organic thing, or was that intentional?
It was super intentional. It was because of one conversation that I had in VR chat. Actually, I had been talking to my friend Blue for a while, and he said to me once in one of my spaces, and we're talking about just locations in general and what's good and all that. And he said, the people are what makes these spaces real. And regardless of how good your space is, or how good you are, or how good you are as a creative, if the space is in, or it hasn't been used to its potential, why is it there? And I think that was the real kind of nod that made me start thinking about the importance of being in public and of providing public space. And then it kind of took in my whole view as an artist. It's like I've done so many mediums. I was doing graffiti when I was like 14 and things. And so when I kind of began to realize the power of public spaces and how communities can organize around spaces, that one sentence of the people are what make these spaces real really burned into my mind. And ever since, I've put that at the front and made sure that my spaces were accessible before anything else. We've only had a ton of growth and evolution in a really good way.
I really enjoy those spaces, watching you work, and you're right. As I watch you, I become invested in the piece, because your builds are not just environments; they are pieces of artwork, and I would like to celebrate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. And I think Owls is back.
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you for that. Blockzone. Yeah, great. And I know I heard you talk in the very beginning about like the VR and how you're building. Tell me about like the actual brand that you and Chris are putting together, and kind of like what's the thought behind it, and where do you guys see yourself a year from now? Just because I know there's some curators and hosts in here that are looking for you, right?
Got you. So it's a two-part answer there. We've got the main thing that was really kind of public and everyone on Spatial is aware of, is vrdesign.house. And that's URL, and it's also a location. And so that is where what Cece and I were just discussing, we began opening up our spaces to the public, and then also allowing people in during the workday, 1 or 2 days a week, just to see exactly what it is that we're doing, to ask any questions that they want. And then we try to give them as much as we can as far as information goes. There's a huge thing that we really believe in, that there's no industry secrets. Everything that we have learned, if we have learned it first, whether we had a headache or not, if we can share the information with you guys to make better spaces too, we do that. And then, so the creative side of that would be Propagation House. And that's the brand I've had as a creative over the last like 9 years. And that's just digital multimedia. But evolving into this context in this world now, we have a huge focus in 3D, in virtual space, in the metaverse, because that's kind of where I planted my serious roots as an artist. I did so many other things, but that was where I found the most joy, and also where I see the most growth, the most room for growth, in a good, positive way for like humanity. And so it's super huge, right? I don't know how to make that an easy statement, but I really believe that virtual space can be a medium for humanity, and that we can use these spaces in a way that actually is natural and is organic and goes beyond a lot of the ways we've been trying to do media in the last 10 years. And so that brand there is, we build with VR Design House, and we can build all these great things. Propagation House is our creative studio where we amplify other artists. We amplify other brands that are in line with our mission and purpose. And it's a culture house. And so that's where we just do music, we do live shows, we do events, and all of that too.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm seeing your brand go, and I'm definitely a big fan of what you're doing, what you're building. You have a go big or go home kind of mentality when it comes to building. I think you have the biggest environments, probably the best spatial reels, multi-talented in what you're building with spatial. Where do you see spatial as a platform like a year from now, and just kind of just guessing, because you've seen it go over the last year, but where do you think a year from now could look like?
I think we're really lucky because we managed to get a lot of, and I think totally organically too, we managed to get a lot of the right people in this small community now, that really care about what they're doing. And so we've set this tone in the space that I've kind of seen, where you've got kids that are young that are looking around and they'll show up, and you've got randoms who are just here to check things out and see art. But I think what you really see are a lot of small organizations that are showing up and they're communicating and they're making really great things. And I don't think that trend will really change. I think a year from now, you'll probably see a lot more diversity in the types of projects that exist. I think we'll see merchandise shops. I think we'll see coffee shops. I think we'll see galleries, museums like the one we're going to open next week. I think there's going to be a huge range in what you can do on spatial. And I think it's going to change a lot of how public perception views the quote unquote metaverse. This is kind of the gateway drug into everything else. Is really how
I love that.
It's so easy to access that once you get here, you're in front of all the media that can take you layers deeper. So I think people are starting to recognize spatial as a hotbed for creativity, for a lot of industry changes, and for case studies. So if you're here right now and you're proving points in a way that's beneficial to everyone, you're solving problems and you're showing ways that things can be done, I think a year from now, the access you'll have to resources and people and networks you might not have ever thought of talking to will all be right here.
Yeah, I love that. Now, you talked about like small businesses and small organizations coming in here. What would be your best advice for them coming into the space and wanting to collaborate?
To collaborate in general, or for themselves,
Or just with other artists, like what advice would you give like a small business that wants to come into this space and wants to collaborate? Do you go straight to an artist? Do you go?
Yeah, I would be super present. I think of like a lot of my kind of best friends online, right? And the reason that we're so close now is because we've spent hours and hours and hours and hours together. So by the time something has happened where there's a natural reason for one of us to benefit the other or to work together on something, it's really easy and it doesn't feel forced, because by then you're both on the same page. So for small brands, approaching artists and kind of just showing their face, definitely go to the events. I'm really bad at that sometimes. I know I'm like notoriously bad at that the last like 3 or 4 months. But showing up and going to events, and then if you have a space, right, you don't just open a space and say it's open and leave it and go to it once a week. If you open a space, you have to think about that like you are a manager now. You have a space, you have to think about who's coming in, how often, what kind of programming you can offer people that are coming in, what they can take away, whether you're there or not, whether it's a download or information, whatever it might be. And that sounds really complicated, but as soon as you simplify it in context to what you're doing, you just think about what you would do in real life or what's working for you in 2D. And then you provide a space that invites people in to get more context and walk away with, holy shit, what did I just experience? So it could be anything, right? It could be your cafe. It could be your gallery. It could be if you're a music producer and you just sit around and make music, right? If you have a space now, or you have access to a space, and these are free, if you understand the power of a Discord stream or a Twitch stream and Twitter, Reddit live stream, how much, I don't know, how much reach that can get on its own. If you open a space and you do the exact same thing, even if Discord or Twitch is already working for you, right? You can stream that into your 3D space. You can add downloads for your friends to come get, and you can show your entire process all day. In context to me, we do spaces. So if you come into my space, like Cece was saying, on Monday or Tuesday, we build all day long. So if you want to learn about that, you see it. If you're a producer, if you're a lawyer, like I know some of you guys know Mitch, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you provide the space and you just open the tab and you let people know what your scheduled hours are, I promise like a lot of things will change very quickly. That's too much.
Man. Yeah, that was good. That was good. So let's talk about a subject that is going to be kind of sensitive. Let's talk about money, right? What type of money do you see architects making in the space, or curators making in the space, just from your point of view?
It depends. I think it really depends on a few things. If you are selling spaces, especially unique spaces, I don't think anywhere from $5 to $8 grand is expensive. With builders that are actually worth the money that they're trying to charge you, that means your space is going to be updatable with time. It means that you've got a unique location that can be altered whenever you need. You can have variants of one location that can serve multiple purposes. And if that doesn't work for you and you don't like it, you can turn around and sell the thing to somebody else. And then there's the other side of this. We recognize that bad actors do exist. And so rather than being afraid of piracy, you kind of put that into the bill. You know, it's very likely that at some point someone's going to take your work or my work and try to resell it in a different way. And you can't really fight that. So that's where I think the high end, I would call it the high end for the average builder, is totally reasonable. When you start doing edition spaces, you know, I think you have to think about how many editions you want to do and how much you need to survive as an artist. And I think that's a little bit different for everybody. But you should definitely take into account how much your software costs, how much your internet costs, how much your hardware costs, how much events cost to go learn. Those are all things that, like, you know, the artists now, if they really want to get into building environments, they're going to have to do. And there's a lot of background and overhead that really does exist behind it. So I think when we think about the price of an environment, I think we have to look at it. One, is it an art piece or solely utilitarian? Because then there's a different ticket price. And if it's solely utilitarian, even then, how many exists, and do I have access to the master file, and can I modify it? Or can it be modified for me? Or is it cross-compatible? Like, those are all the questions I think you start asking. But, you know, for me, we have the safe house. That was $100. I'm probably going to raise the price on that soon. But when we released it, it was $100 because the point was to get a really good space in the hands of people that needed one and understood how this world could work. And so, yeah, you could do a huge, crazy one-of-one for anywhere from, you know, 8, 10, 60 grand if you're somebody else, or you could sell your stuff for $400 a pop, $100 a pop, and give people back a lot. It kind of just depends on your game plan. I know that was too vague, but I think anywhere from 500 to 5 grand and 8 grand is totally real.
No, yeah, you knocked it out and you kept it real, and I think that's why I brought you here, because those are the things that, as like architects like myself and others that are building in this space, those are the things that we're thinking about, right? What is the price? What is fair, right? And what can people expect from builders? But what is the standard? There's no standard right now, and I feel like that's something that we need to establish for price range and creativity. And when you build like an environment like this environment that you see here, this is art. This is like me getting into my creative zone and putting things together of my creative side. The way that Blockstone creates is art. And there's no art that you've seen in spatial that is exact same. Everybody here is different. So there's room for growth. There's no room for like envy or jealousy. Support each other, come to these events, and that's how we're going to, grow together. Now, you talked about one thing, which was you had a very affordable price on your environment. And that's kind of the approach that I did as well, too. And the reason why is because we want to give artists tools. We want to give them applications for them to showcase and highlight their artwork. Not only can they use it, but it also highlights us as well, too. So when you win, we win as well, too. So I feel like there's a reason for why there are certain environments that are at a certain price, but also understand why certain environments are actually at a different tier. These artists work hard. They do a lot of study, and it takes a lot of time to master your craft. And Blockstone, you definitely have done that here over the last year, and letting me know how you built things. But tell me some of the challenges that you're facing as a designer building in this space. Or do you feel like you have the right tools? Do you feel like you have the right platforms? Because there's so many different things out there. Do you feel like you have everything you need right now, or are you still going to one application to the other one and then double dipping to a different one?
I use so many different applications. I think there's like a few different answers. So let me try and think on this for a second. Really, the rawest answer is I don't think we have any serious limitations. I think anybody that is putting off a build and they really kind of state themselves as a builder or an expert in the space, they're going to be exposed very quickly. And I say that because a lot of these tools are free to access now. So you can start paying when you need the premium versions of that, or you need the plugins that save you time or whatever it might be. But the reality is the software is free, the server space is free, people are super interested. Any limitation that you make right now is completely a personal perspective and a personal issue. It's your own resistance, because there's no excuse at this point. It's to me, spatial is much easier to navigate than Facebook. VR chat is much more fun to me than Twitch or playing games all day. And these are easy access things. Spatial specifically, my grandmother can get on Spatial and call me anytime. I can talk to my great aunts who are all 70 and 60 years old and talk to them for 3 hours, and no one has any issues. To build a space, realistically, if you did a class with me, one of the first things I would break down with you are what I call buckets and hats. A bucket is a building, a hat is a roof. If you break everything down to very simple shapes, you can make a bucket and a hat very quickly. You could do that in Blender, you could do that in Archeo, you could do that in Gravity Sketch, you could do that in Unity, all free to access tools. All you have to do is make 4 squares in a roof. You could do less than that. You could leverage AR capability, right? And just show your work in a way that is formatted to be seen anywhere differently. Like there's a million things you can do now where I actually don't think there are any stops now. You have to work within the limitations of where you put your work. Certain platforms can't do everything, but you have the tools to pretty much do everything now. Everything, even the things you can't make, the things you couldn't buy. 3 years ago, you would have to find or create your own textures. Adobe Capture came out. This is like another thing you guys should find if you try to build stuff. And you could photograph anything and make it a texture. Now you have AI and you can generate textures in about 30 minutes to get exactly what you want. But there's no reason other than the fact that you didn't want to learn or you didn't want to spend a few headaches through understanding what you were doing. So definitely try it. That's what I'm trying to say politely. It sounds more negative than anything positive. You can't. You absolutely can figure it out.
It's true. It's true, and you're coming off the hip with it, which I like. One of your skill set with being an architect is that you have an eye for buildings and structures. And this is actually a photo that I took in NYC in a actual, I think it was a cab or an Uber as Blockstone were going into an event. And you have a great background in photography. Do you feel like some of your skill sets that you learned in being a professional photography helped with the way that you create environments?
Oh, totally. Even before I could use AI to generate, like I was just saying so quickly, I could go photograph the textures I need. Like there are some pieces, I don't know if you guys know Declan or if you've been to Cal Poly, but some of the textures in there are actually from waterfalls in Eastern Washington. Like we went and drove 5 hours to go find moss and waterfalls. We couldn't know what I wanted, and I didn't want to generate it, and I wanted it to be natural because I'm a photographer. So we used photography skills to generate textures to place into the space and make it real. Like there's a million ways where it all ties together. I think my biggest real one though, beyond photography, was shore, because I was always climbing on those, jumping on those, bleeding on them. And so I think that perspective on scale and use and path of travel, I think that was the big one. Photography now, a cell phone is like your best friend for building. You can get a texture off anything.
I love that. And Blockman, I really appreciate you spending some time with us. You know, what do you got going on next? Like what's your big drop that people need to be, you know, to find out about or just get to know?
Wednesday we are
What do you got going on
releasing a
Wednesday?
museum. We are releasing a museum centered on AI art and creative application of AI for 3D modeling. So everything we're just talking about, that's probably why like, you're asking me questions and I'm low-key trailing off to like other things because my brain is so focused on that right now. So I'm sorry. But the museum, yeah, that's a really huge deal. We're going to open that up to community curation as well. So we're going to take a lot of submissions and take a lot of work and put that like right front and center. How to make your own stuff.
So yeah, the educational part is definitely where it's at, and we're going to see more and more people moving that way. So you're going to be having like live streaming, showing people how you built, how you put things together.
So the whole exhibit, the main exhibit that's going to be open on Wednesday, is around architecture and AI for modeling in space. That the whole curation will change with time, sure, but yeah, it's literally going to be a educational based exhibit. The center is going to give a lot of tools and even give away a lot of kind of materials and assets that are being shown in the exhibit, so that you can understand how these things work and it's not being made. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm actually really, really excited because a lot of this, like I know you guys know, I think it was 2 days ago, Dream Fusion came out, and now there are neural networks for 3D models. So the same way you guys use Midjourney and DALL-E and things like that, people are already working on that for assets, for metaverse assets.
Wow.
So if you start putting that in context, yeah, you put that in 3 years, man, we've got whole buildings.
Yeah, that's going to make life a little bit easier for us. And real quick, there's a photo behind us, Black. I don't know if you see it. It's a photo of you and I. And this is an NFT NYC.
My God, I didn't even see this.
So Block had a long day that day, and I think we were on the rooftop. We were kicking it, and we were actually talking about these type of events and what we're doing here. So it's kind of full circle, reminiscing of us having this conversation on the rooftop, talking about the things that we wanted to build and help with in this space. So I want to say deja vu, but also Awesome again. It's always a privilege to have you up here. So everybody, let's give a round of applause for
Oh,
Blockstone.
love you, man. Thanks for
And
having me.
thanks for being here today, man. You are the man, man. I appreciate you coming up here. Does anybody have any questions for Blockstone? You guys have to have some type of questions for this guy.
I love
No,
it.
he-
I'm back.
oh.
Let me sneak out of here. Oh,
I have I want to know, when are you going to do a pink gallery or a pink inspired environment
pink?
for us ladies? Pink is my
Oh,
favorite
pink.
color.
DC, when are you gonna make one of the spaces pink? You've got spaces. I'll help you out. We'll do it.
The one that I saw last night would be
You're already
amazing
in the
with some
club.
pink in it.
We could do the veil for something. We should figure out. We could do the veil for like a breast cancer thing. I think that would be really on point.
Please,
The only
please,
time
please.
we're making
Okay.
a whole pink thing would be
Nobody gets
That'd be
blocked for
beautiful.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month. He's mine.
everybody does. Everybody does.
Must have been
Yes.
involved with supporting you with that.
Yes. Oh, yes, Dave, of course, always. Yes, Block. I would love to. I will marry you.
Too late. No, thank you. I got a girl. She loves me. She'll fight you. I'll fight her. Yeah. Well, I love you, sister.
I love you, Block. Thank you so much for
I gotta
sharing
say it on
yourself
the
with
record, you made me do it. You made...
Yeah, we gotta we still have about like 40 minutes real quick, but I see we have Jojo up here. So Jojo, go ahead and step on the stage real quick.
Go, Jojo. Oh no, she's not here.
She might be AFK. She might be having a sit or something. Jojo has been the biggest asset to CJ Meta events. I'm the creative, chatty, fun one, and then she is the nitty gritty, like get the work done part of the team. So I absolutely love JoJo. If you don't know, she is an incredible marketer, a funny lady, and just talented. I'm so lucky that I snagged her. She's mine. I'm collecting.
She's offering a lot of support to a lot of people. Cece, I love you, but
I have
definitely-
to share her with Dave. That's right.
but she is also incredibly talented, just to back it up, and she offers so much support to so many people, and she really doesn't like the limelight. She really feels uncomfortable talking about herself. So it's on people like us to build JoJo up, because she does so much for so many of us. So much of the marketing content that's come out from Goons in terms of images and videos recently has been put together by her. She's going to be offering support with the Polygon Alliance website, which we desperately need, just willing to put herself out there to help everyone else. And what you guys are doing at CJ Meta events is incredible as well. And I'm happy to support that from a community perspective as much as I possibly can.
Yep, she is the brainchild behind all of marketing for CJ Meta events. And it is a service that we're offering to projects as well, in case you guys need some extra support, because I know marketing is not always an artist's favorite thing to do. So if it's something that you're interested in, you can work with us and you can get some of that JoJo magic for your project.
I'm gonna Gravity, welcome. I see that you finally made it to the showcase.
Hi, thank you. I think I finally figured out all my technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
What? Yeah.
Yay.
What were the issues that you had going on?
There was bad internet in my entire area yesterday, but also I think that I was just crunching under, so I tuned it back a bit, so I have a low frame rate, but I can see and hear you all.
Nice, nice. And I like what you got going on. I like your new style. That really caught my eye once I saw some of the new NFTs that you were creating, and then the one that was it Dave pointed out. So I see that you changed your style a little bit.
Oh my gosh, awesome. Yes, thank you so much. The each project has been different
Do
from
you
the
do the way?
last, so I'm sorry?
No, sorry, that was someone else interrupting. But go ahead. Would you mind coming up to the stage?
Sure.
All right. You got 20 minutes. The floor is yours. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I probably won't need all of it.
No. Whoever is messing with the slide, can you please stop? Thank you. I
Okay, so
appreciate it.
hello.
Hey, Gravity. First and foremost, this is your second or your third showcase with us. Gravity, can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. I lost you for a second there.
This is your second or your third showcase with us.
Second. So I missed
Nice. And
the last one.
can you give me a little bit of background about yourself and tell me about your journey in NFTs?
Okay. So I got into crypto in January of 21, and I didn't discover NFTs until this January of 22. I was so happy to find them because I've been making graphics for about 25 years, and this space and the people in it are a huge inspiration to me daily, and I'm so thankful to have found NFTs. Beyond the amazing art, I love the community and the ecosystem so much, and I love seeing people happy and win together and have fun. So currently my collections are focused on rewarding holders in the community.
I love that. And when did you come on the scene? Was it in 2020 or 2021?
So NFTs in 2022, crypto 21.
Oh wow. Been in
So I'm
DeFi
pretty
for a
new.
while.
My first collection, my first collection was started in January of this year.
Nice. And tell me about how do you create your artwork, your NFTs with the TVs? I see some of them got like the neon light and they're glowing. And tell me about the are they TVs? Tell me like the process behind these.
So these are the idea for the yes, they are TVs came to me because I'm an arcade operator, and every machine has a story and life of its own. I have about 20 old tube TVs sitting in front of my garage, and I was looking at them and thinking how I might turn them into some type of art piece. And I had simultaneously been experimenting with AI art generation, and the two ideas just collided and started becoming the Untunables collection.
Yeah, I can see that. And you've had this will be your third collection because I remember you had Gravity, Glitch, and then is that right? Or
Yeah,
and then Diamonds, right?
Gravity Glitch was the second collection, and that was many algorithmic processes to come to the final art pieces. And the Gravity Diamonds was all mainly done in Photoshop. So I like
nice.
to
I love Photoshop.
I like to just keep expanding my different art avenue horizons, and I work in Illustrator as well sometimes. So But the AI has been really cool to explore.
Yeah, it looks great, and I love that you're using Adobe products. I'm a big Adobe guy myself, and you said you've been with the crypto since 2001. Can you tell me about your experience of Polygon and why you chose Polygon?
So actually 2021, I'm pretty new to the scene overall, but I like Ethereum, and a lot of the other new emerging blockchains are very cool as well. I like Polygon because the community is so amazing, and also I like avoiding all the high gas fees and things.
I love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Polygon for that as well too. I think the community is definitely one of the number one things that I think everybody here can attest in it for, and I think that's why we're here today. Another thing that I would like to talk about is like you've got a unique set of say utilities or perks for this project. Can you talk about it? Because you can win up to 69 Matic or win over 420 Matic.
Yeah, so when the collection is all minted out, 3 collectors will win 69 Matic, 2 collectors will win 420 Matic, and there'll be some other giveaways along the way. In fact, a new reward was added this morning. There's one seasonal fall untunables in the collection, and it's coming up soon. So whoever mints that one is going to win 69 Matic.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring you guys up, guys. She's got a really great project, and like that's the roadmap. That's it. That's it. Is just art, love, and love for the community. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the Untunables are a group of 369 TVs that have come to life on the Polygon network. They are fiercely independent, creative, free-thinking TVs that are not inclined to conform with society's expectations, just like the majority of the personalities in Web3. They cannot be tuned or controlled. And each one is unique, but there are groups that share very similar traits.
I love it. Yeah, I'm digging like the one that we have down here at the bottom, like the neon color with the purple. That's right up my theme. I've seen a lot of artwork, even your shirt that like matches like this vibe that we're creating here. So really like what you got going on. I love that you use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop. Those are like my go-to tools when I'm also been working with like Adobe Express. So I'm sure you're using with the Adobe Cloud. Is there any other tools that you've been messing with outside of Adobe and some AI? Have you messed with like Blender? Have you messed with like Procreate or any of those other applications?
Not yet, but I am interested in looking into some of the 3D sculpting tools, and also there's another Adobe project or program. It's slipping my mind right now, but it helps with animation. So I'm going to be looking into that as well.
I love that. Well, DeFi, how can more people find more information about you, or how can more people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter for the majority of the information is all through there at DeFi Gravity NFT. Also, I have a website. It's defigravitynft.com. My first 2 projects were minted through the OpenSea storefront contract, but this one I used a service, Nifty Kit, to do my own contract. So I'm excited about that. And you can actually mint the Untunables right from the Untunables page on the DeFi Gravity site, or you can go to the Nifty Kit drop page as well.
I love that. I appreciate that. Thank you guys. Let's give her a round of applause, and thank you for coming up here sharing about the project and your artwork.
Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing about and seeing everybody else's art and projects as well. So thank you so much for listening, and have an awesome Polygon Showcase.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Yeah, you guys can find her artwork downstairs and the rest of the other artists downstairs. And we'll probably take a tour here in just a moment. It is already 2:30. I wanted to make sure that we gave her some time, just because yesterday we she was having some technical issues, and the fact that we have